Hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so the grounds are still a little bit wet outside for digging, but inside the greenhouse we can start to get the borders prepared. Now what I'm going to do, typically what I do in the greenhouse is what's called a Victorian border. So what I do is I take out the soil completely from the border, and then I put in a layer of grass cuttings, then a layer of chicken manure and straw and stuff, and then I put some fresh soil on the top. Now what this does, obviously, as the grass deteriorates, it generates heat inside the border, so when you put your plants in, they grow that little bit quicker. But this year what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do it slightly differently. What I'm going to do is take off the sort of the top 8 or 9 inches of the ground, put that outside, and then what I'm going to do is then put in all of the spent compost from all of the peppers and that in the other greenhouse that I had last year, and I'm going to then put some more soil in there, mix it all up, and then I'm also going to put some chicken manure. Now when you put in typical potting compost in, that's going to have a sort of high pH, so it's going to be alkali, and when I put the chicken manure in, the chicken manure is going to be acidic. Now what you typically need to do, for most vegetables like the soil to be slightly acidic, so around between 6 and 6.8 pH, which is slightly acidic, obviously 7 being sort of neutral. But what I'm going to do in here is put the spent compost, which is obviously going to be slightly alkali, and then I'm going to put some chicken manure, mix all that in with some soil, and then what I should end up with is you know, some border content which is about the right pH. Now tomatoes are very typical with vegetables. They like their soil to be around 6 on the pH scale, so they like it slightly acidic, as do, as I say, most vegetables like it in there. Some are more tolerant than others, but on the whole, vegetables like the soil to be slightly acidic. So what I'm going to do is, as I say, dig all this out, take out the top sort of 9 inches of the soil to a foot, take that outside and put that somewhere where I'm not going to have any potatoes or anything like that, because there could potentially be sort of spores in this soil which are from, you know, any fungus which is grown in the you know, blight and that which is grown on the tomatoes. Now last year I didn't suffer from blight at all, so there shouldn't be anything in here, but to be on the safe side I'm going to put this soil where I'm not going to be growing potatoes, and then I'll bring in soil from outside where I haven't had potatoes, so I know I'm not bringing any sort of diseases in. And that's really the reason why you need to freshen the soil. Obviously you need to have the goodness and the nutrition in the soil, but also what you want to do is take out any sort of diseased material, if you like. Now most certainly in the greenhouse, because the conditions are warm and also sort of damp, things like fungal you know, issues can sort of accumulate over years. So it is really important that if you have got borders like I've got here, is to sort of renew the soil on a sort of yearly basis. So to cut a sort of short, what I'm now going to do is just place the camera down, and I'm going to take off the top 9 inches of this, obviously take that soil outside, and then I'll start to bring in some new material. Okay, so that's the border with, as I say, about 9 inches of soil taken out. And what I've done is I've just roughly dug that over. The one piece of advice I would give is if you find any worms, put them back. Don't take them out, because you want them in the border, because that'll keep the soil aerated and that. Now what I'm going to do is take some of the pots here. Now these are the pots that had peppers in, so nothing out of the nightshade family or the tomatoes and stuff. potatoes or anything like that. And then all I'm going to do is just break that up. Now, when I potted these up, this was a mixture of soil and compost. So as I say, this should have a pH which is sort of reasonably high. So you know, it's got a alkali pH to it. So what I'm going to do, some sunflower seedlets there. Obviously some sunflower seeds have fallen into that one. Take out any weeds, obviously, and then I'm just going to empty all of these in to start building the level back up. Now obviously this is still full of nutrition. The main thing you want is sort of moisture retentive material in here, as well as the sort of the goodness. But obviously the chicken manure is going to put a lot of that in. So I'll just put this over, and then I'll show you what it looks like in a minute when I start to put the chicken manure on. As soon as I've done that, then the whole thing will get a good dig over again. I've dug the bottom bit, as I say, because as soon as you build up the level to here, because it's going to sink about 4 inches anyway, as soon as you build the level up, it's difficult to dig the bottom half. So whilst you've got it half empty like this, it's best to dig the bottom half over, get that all nice and loose, so when you put the tomatoes in, the roots can get straight down into nice loose soil and get a good start in life. So what I'll do now, as I say, I'll continue doing this to show you what it looks like in a moment. Okay, so that's the contents of all the pots sort of broken up. Now you don't need to be too sort of overly fussy about it right at this stage, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the chicken manure in and the some more loam as well, just to make up the level, and then I'm going to leave it until the tomatoes go in. Now the tomatoes aren't going to go in here for at least another 2 months, so you know, by that time there'll be some boards over the top with some you know, sort of seedlings in. Moisture's going to get from, as I water them, water's going to go in here. As I say, all the worms are in there as well, they're going to mix it up for me. And then just before I put the tomatoes in, what I can do is give it another quick sort of dig over, and then that'll be all nice and prepared. So this is basically as dry as a bone now. As soon as a bit of moisture gets in here, when I start watering the seedlings, you know, this is going to most certainly break up and, you know, become nice and mixed. Right, so what's the chicken manure? What this is, as you know, I keep my own chickens. Now this is what I clean directly out of the nest, so I don't keep straw in the nest. Obviously in the run I have straw and stuff like that for the chickens to move around in, but this comes straight out of the nest. So this is pure unadulterated chicken manure, there's nothing else in there. Now this is a bit strong, obviously. Just show you this. Obviously you don't really want to handle this with your hands, but that's basically straight out of the nest. You know, there's nothing else added there. So all I'm going to do is just sprinkle that on top of the soil like that. Just do it a bit where you can see. So this is like, if you don't have your own chickens, something like 6x is the same thing. So basically just sprinkle it on like that, and I wouldn't put too much of this. And as I say, this is going to be quite acidic. The smell's quite strong, to be honest. I know you can't see anything on there, but the smell of this is quite bad. So what I do is I collect this off the chickens. If you do have your chickens, collect this out of your nest and then put it in a plastic bag. Keep it in the greenhouse, then it'll keep nice and dry, and then it'll be nice and because if it gets wet, it just turns into like a big mass, and then you can't sort of spread it around too well. But as I say, all you need to do is just sprinkle that about, and then basically just tickle it into the surface like that after you've done that, making sure that you get it as spread as you possibly can do. And the quickest way of doing this is just basically put it up the middle, like I'm showing you now, like that. As I say, there was about half a sack full, basically, so basically that much. in there. So I'd say probably weight wise, probably about 10 kilos. And then just spread that about like that, as best you can. As I say, it does smell quite strong. If you do leave it in the bag for a year or two, obviously the smell goes, but to be honest with you, as soon as you dig it into the soil, you won't be able to smell it anyway. So just go along like that, tickle it into the soil, and then what I want to do is put a top dressing on of some loam, just a couple of inches on top of here, maybe a barrowful. And then as soon as I've done that, I shall then put the boards over as they were before, like this, like that, and then I'll be planting all my seedlings, putting them on top of there. As I water them, water's going to go in here, and that's going to mix it all up anyway. But as I say, the worms will do a lot of it for you. So as I say, you don't need to be overly fussy, but what I would say is when it comes to chicken manure, make sure that's as distributed as possibly can do. What you don't want are big lumps of it, because obviously that'll be quite acidic where that lump is, if you like. So as soon as you've done that, as I say, put some loam on, and then just leave it there for a couple of months, let the worms do the rest for you. Okay then, so seed wise, I've not bought any seeds as of yet this year. I did buy some at the back end of this year, but these are the seeds that I had last year, many of which I didn't grow. Now if you are going to go out, this is quite a popular time for people to start thinking about buying seeds and stuff. What I would strongly recommend is look what you've already got. Most seeds last for 2 or 3 years anyway, you know, you most certainly, you know, if you haven't used a complete packet of seeds, then you know, you will most certainly be able to you know, sort of use some more. So let's start off with the brassicas. So I've got kale seeds. Those are the ones I saved from last year. Those are the large Petrage kale. Those are down in the house, so I haven't got those here. But obviously things like this kale, I find this quite tough. It's good for chickens. I find this is the sort of the curly kale, but I shan't be growing that this year. Now, whilst we're talking about brassicas, so we've got the broccoli. Now last year broccoli didn't do very well at all because of the weather, and because of that I didn't plant the number of crops I was expecting. So as you can see here, I don't know if you can see all of these at the bottom, but I've got quite a few packets of broccoli left over from last year. Now obviously purple sprouting broccoli, this one, that's typically harvested this time of year, so towards the spring. So I am tempted to grow some of that this year, but the one that I find is the best broccoli is actually this one, Autumn Beaumont. This one, obviously this is good till 2020. So you know, so I don't need to buy any more of these. This one as well. This one comes from Mr. Farmer Gill. This one also is a very good variety to grow. Some that I found last year that didn't grow particularly well. I can't find the packet. I think I've thrown the packet away. But there was one that I grew last year that just didn't do very well at all. But for me, in my soil, these are the two. Also, I've got multiple packets of that one. These are the ones that grow well. I did grow some of these from Wilco's. Didn't have very much success, but as I say, I think it was the weather more than anything. So to be fair, you know, I can't really knock that. But those are the ones in the past that I've had good success with. We've also got this Fiesta F1 hybrid as well. So I will try and grow some of that, but I'm also going to try and grow you know, sort of few sort of crops of that this year. Typically what you should be able to do is get 3 crops out of the you know, the sort of the broccoli or the calabrese. I've also got this one here, Iron Man, which I could potentially have a go at. I don't know when these seeds are up. Oh, they were actually up last, oh no, not 2019. They're still good, so I'll probably have a go at those as well. But that's the broccoli, obviously purple sprouting broccoli as well. Right, moving on to what else have we got here? Beetroot. I'm not going to be buying any more beetroot because there's more than enough seeds in there for me. That's the perfect 3. Those are the ones I grew last year. They grew incredibly well. I got a very good harvest from those last year, so I'll be growing those. Turnips. 2 different types of turnips. These both came from Wilco's. I grew those last year. Not too bad, seems that they were brassicas. Obviously last year we had a bad bad year for brassicas, so I won't be buying any of those either. I've also got some more beetroot. These are the Easy Grow ones from Wilco's, so I won't be buying any more of those either. Right, these are some turnips. These are from Thompson and Morgan. These are Golden Ball. Those are the other ones I grew last year. So as I say, there's still easily half a packet of seed in there, so I shan't be buying any more turnip seed. So I'll be growing a mixture of these. What I typically do with the turnips is mix the seed up the row. So I've got one row of turnips, that's more than enough for me. And what I typically do is sow all 3 seeds up the row, then you get some yellow ones, some orange ones in there, which are the Golden Ball. Then there'll be this purple topped one, and then there'll also be the completely white ones, the snowball ones, and then they'll just grow up in the row, and then you can just pull them up as they are required. Swedes, I didn't grow any Swedes last year because of one thing and another, so I will be growing these. These are from Country Value. Best of all, I've grown these a number of times. That's a very good you know, sort of variety to grow. As I say, these aren't very expensive at all. I think they're 60p a packet. These ones from Wilco's as well. Best of all, it's exactly the same variety as you can see from Wilco's or from Country Value. I think they were 60p. I don't know if I've got the top of the packet in there. No, I've lost the top. But I think I'm pretty sure they were 60p. So as I say, you don't need to spend a lot of money on your seed. These are some more turnips. So there are the turnips there. Right, beetroot. Now I always grow. Sorry, not beetroot. Spinach beet. I always grow the perpetual spinach. Now this comes from Country Value again. A number of seed companies actually do this, but I would recommend you get the perpetual spinach, which is more of a chard than a spinach, but this doesn't tend to bolt anywhere near as much as standard spinach does. So if we get some hot or dry weather, spinach typically bolts. Last year, because the weather was so hot, this also bolted quite a lot as well. But this should grow all the way through the year, and then next year, or also next year, this will then grow again. So you should have pretty much, out of the 12 months of the year, you should have about 9 months of the year where you're cropping this. So it's, from a space value point of view, spinach is one of the best vegetables to eat, and it's also from a use of ground point of view a very, very economical vegetable to grow. Because as I say, we were picking this all last year. It dies down over the winter for a couple of months, and then in the spring it grows back up, and then you just start picking it again. Obviously pick out the older leaves, leaving the small ones on the inside, and then they'll just keep growing and growing and growing. Eventually, sort of towards May time, it will run to seed. You need to take it out and then put some fresh in. But what you can do is sow your new this year's crop, if you like, in another area, and then that'll be sort of grown up and ready to pick before last year's is finished, if you like. So you can get, I think you can get 9 or 10 months of spinach coming, sort of all the way through the year. So it is a very good vegetable to eat anyway. As I say, it's a very good value vegetable to grow. Right, the gourds. I've still got plenty of pumpkin seeds, which I'll grow 2 plants of. I had too many pumpkins last year really, but I've got this Big Max pumpkins. I've also got some squashes left, and that's the giant pumpkin seeds as well. I think I've got some of those left as well in there. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's a few left in there. They're called Atlantic Giant from Thompson and Morgan. But as I say, they're always nice and big. So I'll be growing a few of those. I did grow too many last year, to be honest with you. So I had more pumpkins than I knew what to do with, and butternut squashes. Because it was a good year for them. Right, onions. I have got some other onions down at the house, but I will be growing the majority of the onions from seed, like I did last year. Now these are the Bedfordshire Champion seeds, which did really well. They're from, as I say, Mr. Fothergill. I have got another packet of seeds as well from a different company, which I'm going to try this year. But as I say, those grow really well last year. All of the sets I put in last year pretty much failed, to be honest with you. Some of these had end drop. It wasn't a good year for onions last year, but as I say, these did grow. It was just the damp at the end that caused the problems. Right, that's the kale. Now peppers. Obviously, as you know, last year I grew a variety of peppers. Let's just try and find where they are. Right, so there were these ones which are the sweet peppers. I've still got some seeds of there. They're good till this September, so they'll grow again this year. Then we had these are the large, I can't remember the name of them now, these are the long red horned ones, those were really nice as well. Jalapenos, there's a number of companies that do jalapeno seeds, but this one, there's that one and that one that I grew last year. As I say, really good. They grew really easily, really well, and we got loads and loads of these. I had about, I think there's about 2.5 kilos of jalapenos last year, so we did really well for those. Tomatoes, it was from the greenhouse. Obviously, there's this. These are the Alicante. I'll be growing some of those, like I did last year. Now they're from Thompson and Morgan. Alicante are a good variety, so I grew some of those last year. Not too many of those last year. Most of the ones that I grew were actually Moneymaker, which I can't see the packet of here. So that's possibly one that I need to buy. But I'll say the other one is Gardener's Delight. Those are the small cherry type tomatoes. They're very easy to grow. The main one is Moneymaker. That'll be the one that I'll grow as well. And also I grew some of these Golden Sunshine, which are the yellow tomatoes, which were nice. Still got some of those seeds, so I'll probably put a few of those in as well. Oh, that was the other pepper as well, sorry, from, I can't remember the maker there. Thompson and Morgan. Those are the Mohawk F1 hybrid peppers. Those are really good as well last year, so I've got some more of those seeds in there. So there's probably about 4 or 5 of those left in there, so that's probably more than enough plants for me. I did buy some sweet corn seeds last year, but I didn't get around to growing them. They're still good for this year, so I may well grow some of those. Courgettes, I'll be growing the yellow ones again, as I always do, which are these ones. That one's from Country Value, so I'll be growing that variety again. Again, they're good to 2000, I don't know if you can see that, 2020, so they're most certainly good for this year. So, in a nutshell, I don't really need to buy many seeds, so it's well worth, as I say, before you go out buying seeds, because they are quite expensive, or can be, you know, make sure you've got the seeds that you need, and then make a list of the ones that you don't have, or some new varieties you want to try. And then you know, you don't go out and buy a load of seed and come back and find you've got, you know, you've duplicated seeds that you've already got from the year before. That was one other I tried last year. That's the from Frenchy, which are really good quality seeds. Okay, and Alistair Craig was the missing onion seeds that I hadn't got on the previous box. Now, obviously, the other you know, the other items, all of the run of beans and everything that we run sort of down there, and the French or the string beans that we had across the front. Obviously, I saved all my own seeds from that. All the sweet peas, I've saved my own seed, and things like the calendulas and stuff like that, as you saw last year, all of those seeds have been saved from last year. I've also got some peppers which I've saved the seed from, so I'll be able to sort of use those as well. So, but the point I wanted to make was, obviously, when you're sort of just about to go out to get your seeds for this year, just check on what seeds you've already got, because what you don't want to do is go out, spend a reasonable amount of money on seeds that you've already got potentially. So but I'll be buying the rest of the seeds over the next week or so, and I'll show you in the next video what we'll be growing for this year. So I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you've got below, and I'll always get back to you, and I'll see you on the next episode of Tim's Little Garden.